Former gang members, has your gang ever been infiltrated by an undercover? Me and my twin brother Marco ran with the Northside Crows back in Detroit. We looked exactly the same, talked the same, even had matching snake tattoos on our necks. People called us the Thompson twins, though our last name was actually Williams. Marco got busted in a drug sting operation 6 months before everything went to hell. Cops caught him with 2 kilos of heroin and enough cash to buy a house. The whole crew expected him to flip, start naming names to save his own skin. Everyone does it eventually when they're looking at 20 years, but Marco kept his mouth shut. 3 weeks in county jail, not one word to the feds. The Crows were impressed as hell. Big Mike even said Marco had more loyalty in his pinky finger than most people had in their whole body. When the trial started, Marco still wouldn't talk. He got 15 years upstate. I visited him twice in those first 2 months. He looked tired, skinnier, but still my brother. Same jokes, same way of rubbing his nose when he was thinking. He told me to keep the crew together while he was gone. Make sure nobody got sloppy. I promised I would. Then Marco came back. Just showed up at my apartment one Tuesday morning like nothing happened. Said he got early release for good behavior. Some program for first-time offenders. I was so happy to see him I didn't even question it at first. But something was different. Marco used to talk non-stop. Couldn't shut him up if you tried. Now he was quiet, thoughtful, always writing stuff down in this black notebook he carried everywhere. When I asked what he was writing, he said he was keeping track of business, making sure we stayed organized. The old Marco hated paperwork, called it stupid cop shit. This new Marco was taking notes on everything. Who was dealing where, what routes we used, how much money was moving through each corner. He said prison taught him to be more careful, more professional. I told everyone prison had matured him, made him smarter. The crew bought it because Marco still looked the same, still had that same laugh when something was funny, still knew all our inside jokes and remembered stories from when we were kids. But then the busts started happening, not random arrests. These were surgical strikes. Cops knew exactly where to find pre-marked bills, knew which dealers would be carrying what amounts. Every time we switched up our operation, moved to different corners, the police were waiting for us like they had a roadmap. 3 of our best dealers got arrested in 1 week, all with evidence that seemed too perfect, too clean. Mike started getting paranoid, thinking someone was wearing a wire. He made everyone strip down at meetings, check for recording devices. I started watching Marco more closely. He was always helpful now, always volunteering for the dangerous runs, always asking detailed questions about who was working where. The old Marco would never volunteer for anything risky. One Thursday, I followed him after a crew meeting. Instead of going home like he said, Marco walked straight into the downtown police station like he was going to buy groceries. Walked right through the front door like he belonged there. I waited across the street for 2 hours until he came out. When I confronted him in the parking lot, something in his eyes looked wrong. Not scared, not guilty, just cold. That's when he smiled, and I knew for sure that wasn't my brother's smile. The real Marco had died in prison 3 weeks into his sentence, shanked in the shower after refusing to join the Aryan Brotherhood for protection. The cops had been planning this operation for months, looking for the perfect inside man. They found an agent who looked similar to Marco, spent 6 months on plastic surgery to make the resemblance perfect, voice coaching, studying hours of surveillance footage, even getting an identical tattoo. They knew everything about my brother's life, his mannerisms, his history with the crew. I only learned the truth during my trial, when Agent David Parker testified against me. He explained how they'd used dental records and DNA to confirm Marco's death, then built an entire fake identity around bringing him back. The fake Marco had been feeding them intelligence for 4 months before I figured it out. By then, half the Northside Crows were either dead or in federal prison. I got 12 years for conspiracy and distribution. I never trusted anyone with a twin brother again.